My parents own a multi-million-dollar waste management company and I've been working as the lowest guy on the crew without telling anyone who I am. I'm 22, just graduated from college a few months ago. While my classmates were polishing resumes and stressing over interviews, my parents sat me down and made it clear, I wouldn't be job hunting. I'd be working for them. They run a massive waste management company like citywide contracts, fleet of trucks, recycling centers, the whole deal. It's their legacy, and they want me to take over someday. But they also made it clear I wouldn't be jumping into some cushy office role with a fancy title. If I was going to lead the company, I had to understand it from the ground up. Fair enough, I actually respected that. So I started at the very bottom. One day I was on a truck hauling trash bins in the rain, the next I was elbow deep in recyclables at the sorting center. I never told anyone who I was. I wore the same uniform, followed the same schedule, and showed up like every other new guy. I wanted real experience. No special treatment, no shortcuts. At first, it was fine. Humbling, even. I started to respect the people who do this every day in ways I couldn't before. They're tough. They work hard. But after a while, the vibe started to shift. I was doing more and more of the grunt work while others kicked back. I was told to straighten out the bins, clean up after others, do the new guy stuff constantly. I didn't complain. I kept my head down. I figured it was part of paying dues. But then came the day that broke me. It was raining hard, and we were already short-staffed. I barely slept the night before, showed up exhausted, and got drenched within the first hour. My clothes were soaked. I was cold and running on fumes. Still, I pushed through most of the shift until one of the senior guys, Ron, decided he was done. He dumped the rest of his tasks on me and said, "You're the new guy, you handle it." I gotta leave early. I snapped. Politely, but firmly, I told him no, I wasn't doing his work. I was done letting people pile on just because they outranked me. He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Then, with a smirk, he said, "Careful. Management might not like it if I start talking about your attitude." I looked him dead in the eye and said, "Then let's go to management right now." He blinked. Didn't say another word. Just walked off. That was the first time I've ever stood up for myself like that at work. I didn't play the "I'm the owner's son" card. I still haven't. But I'm starting to realize, being the boss's kid doesn't mean I have to accept being walked over to prove I'm humble. I'm here to learn not to be everyone's personal doormat. My girlfriend's ultimate betrayal, how I found out she was cheating with 4 guys. So yeah, never thought I'd be posting here, but man, I need to get this off my chest. Been with my girl for 3 years and was legit saving for a ring and everything, then her phone starts blowing up at 2 a.m. like every night. She's all, "It's just work stuff," but like, at 2 a.m.? Come on, I know everyone says don't go through your partner's phone, but whatever, I did it anyway, and holy crap, my life just exploded right there. Wasn't just one dude. 4 different guys. All these separate convos with pics I never want to see again, them planning hookups, and worst part, they were all joking about me. One was literally my best friend since we were kids, another was her boss, classic, our freaking neighbor from down the hall, and that gay friend she was always hanging out with who, surprise surprise, wasn't actually gay. This had been going on for like 8 months while I'm working double shifts to save for our future and stuff. When I finally confronted her, I thought she'd at least try to deny it or cry or something. Nope. She straight up laughed and was like, "Took you long enough to figure it out." Said I was too predictable and she was bored. My so-called best friend texted later saying it wasn't personal and these things happen. Like, WTF, man? I just grabbed my stuff that night while she went out to clear her head, which probably meant hooking up with one of them, TBH. It's been like 2 months now. Moved to a different city, blocked all their asses, started therapy cause I was messed up. Then yesterday she calls from some random number crying about how she made a huge mistake. Turns out boss dude fired her after getting what he wanted, neighbor moved away, my ex-friend got busted by his girlfriend, and the gay friend ghosted her once he got bored. She had the nerve to ask if we could work things out. I just laughed and hung up. Some things you just can't fix, and finding out your girlfriend's been living a whole secret life with 4 other dudes? Yeah, that's definitely one of them. My wife slept with my best friend and now wants to work things out. I, 36M, have been with my wife, 35F, for 17 years. We have 3 children together. I was always of the mindset that I wanted monogamy in life, one woman to come home to and that I'd be with for the long haul. I had women try to talk to me over the years, but I never pursued it because I was completely content in my marriage. My wife was my dream girl and I never wanted to hurt her. Over the years there was 2 occasions where I discovered she was being unfaithful in our marriage. One was an off and on again affair that lasted a few years with her married coworker, and the other was a fling with an ex she dated in high school when she went to visit her family states away. I'm sure there will be people who say I am stupid, which looking back I can't even deny myself, but after a period of separation with both situations I decided to forgive my wife, as I never wanted to raise my children in a broken home like I had been, and I really felt like we could make it through it. We were young whenever the situation with her coworker happened, so I chalked it up to being young and making dumb choices without thinking. For a while things were seemingly okay. I never fully trusted her, but I tried my best to push back my doubts because I knew if I decided to forgive her then I had to do my best to move past it and have a clean slate. It's been 4 years since the second time she'd been unfaithful, and I felt like I made the right decision by letting her have that chance to show she still wanted to be in our marriage. She was a different person for years, and we were happy and even had various things set in motion for the future of our family. However, 2 months ago my reality was once again shattered by yet another incident which in my mind was by far worse than the others. I ended up receiving a message from one of my best friend's wives. This friend knew my wife a little. He'd met her in passing, but it wasn't like we all hung out together or anything like that for me to even worry about them. We worked together, so there was sometimes my wife would bring him up multiple times while we were talking about work. She would bring me coffee to work and also one for him. I noticed when she did she'd dress in more revealing clothing than she usually wore, but I never commented on it. She even convinced me that we should buy him a joint birthday present and take him out for drinks on his birthday. Just little things like that which were obviously weird, but like I said, I didn't think I had anything to worry about with either of them. To my knowledge he had a good marriage with his wife. He never spoke badly about it, so I didn't think he'd have any interest either. Not to mention we'd actually been friends for a very long time and I trusted him. I'd make comments in a joking way to my wife about how she took too much of an interest in him and she laughed it off, saying she just wanted to have another couple to be friends with. She never actually tried to plan anything as far as to hang out with him and his wife as a couple. I agreed they would be good to be friends with, so again I never thought too much into the overly friendliness of my wife with him. Turns out I was way wrong not to, because I was met with multiple screenshots implying they were engaged in a full-out affair. I wanted to get my proof situated before I ended up confronting my wife because I didn't want her to have the opportunity to manipulate the situation or try to lie her way out of it. So I started to go through call logs, credit statements, etc. Because I didn't know how far this actually went past the social media screenshots I saw. When the truth came out, neither of them tried to lie to me about it. I found out they were sneaking off to hotels when she was supposed to be doing doubles at work and he was supposed to be off with family, and that my friend would leave work to go see her at her job basically every day for a month and she'd meet up with him on his lunch breaks. They were even planning a weekend at a hotel for the next weekend before the truth came out. I obviously cut ties with my friend, and honestly I have no idea what to do about my situation with my wife. Their affair ended and my wife apologized profusely, saying she just got carried away. She said that she'd felt lacking in our marriage with both of us dedicating so much time to work/other things, and that my friend was there and a nice guy. She said she let herself envy the way he treated his wife and wished she could have had that with me, but was afraid to tell me I wasn't doing enough in our marriage. So in her words, she made a mistake and that she didn't know how to end it once it started. For now we are living in the same house because realistically neither of us have the means to leave right now, as her family doesn't live here, plus the costs of renting and houses here are absurd, and on top of that we still have our children in our house who are all still in school. She is basically trying to do anything to keep me around, including telling me I can see women casually outside of our marriage as long as I come home to her. She would never hold it against me as cheating. Their affair ended and my wife apologized profusely, saying she just got carried away. She said that she'd felt lacking in our marriage with both of us dedicating so much time to work/other things, and that my friend was there and a nice guy. She said she let herself envy the way he treated his wife and wished she could have had that with me, but was afraid to tell me I wasn't doing enough in our marriage. So in her words, she made a mistake and that she didn't know how to end it once it started. For now we are living in the same house because realistically neither of us have the means to leave right now, as her family doesn't live here, plus the costs of renting and houses here are absurd, and on top of that we still have our children in our house who are all still in school. She is basically trying to do anything to keep me around, including telling me I can see women casually outside of our marriage as long as I come home to her. She would never hold it against me as cheating. Of my only friends, I can't trust her. To me her word is meaningless. I forgive her, then how long until she goes and does it again? I do think people can make mistakes and be forgiven because people are flawed, but this isn't just one slip up. And truth be told, my faith in her is so low I don't even know if there's been more instances on top of the ones I actually know about. My mental state is essentially a puddle of mud right now. I'm sure there's probably someone reading this calling me a dumbass, and I can't even argue that, but yeah, basically my life is a shit show and I don't know how to proceed. Edit. I'm not staying with my wife. I should have clarified that better. Me saying I don't know how to proceed is more talking about how to go about handling this with my children. I've never dealt with anything legal, so the stress of having to meet with lawyers and also not knowing how to go about our living situation. I have enough proof that my wife couldn't flip the switch and take everything from me, but as a guy that's always something you have to worry about. Thank you for your words, and some of you saying I'm a dumbass. Trust me, I know. Can't change that now, unfortunately. Just have to keep moving forward. I'm divorcing my husband because of his farts, and also everyone thinks I'm the honeycomb wife. TLDR, I'm divorcing my husband because of his farts. But for the love, please read the whole thing before you comment. Father, I truly wish this were a joke. Part of this whole situation is on me for not dating him for a long time before we got married, and a big chunk of that dating was spent having completely lost my sense of smell from COVID. That fact alone is absolutely unbelievable, but it's true. Side note, I got my smell back. The other wild part is that when we were dating, he hung over at my place mainly, and I didn't carry a lot of unhealthy snacks for him to snack on at night. This fact is very relevant for the story. At first I thought it was just a bad fart here and there. But as the nights progressed, I realized that the bad farts were becoming a nightly nightmare. I know what normal stinky farts are. Even bad sulfuric farts. But these are not simply either of those. These farts are incompatible with life itself. The first time one really hit me in the face, I projectile vomited. I could taste them. They were almost tangible objects in the air. I'm convinced they are soaked into the carpet and walls. Rotten egg is not even enough to describe what the smell is. It's almost as if something literally died inside of his stomach and was leaking into the air, trying to kill anyone that smells it. His farts are not human. They are not silly little rotten egg farts. There is something wrong with him. Truly. These farts are almost alive with a mind of their own, and they are terrifying. If there was a horror movie made about farts, it would be about his. They are unsettling at best. They make your mind feel like something bad happened, perhaps a murder. Your spirit does not feel settled because these are not normal farts in any way at all. These are violently horrifying. It got to the point where I had to stop sleeping in our bedroom the second month of marriage. Not only that, but I had to blast the AC, stuff towels under our door, stuff towels under my daughter's door, turn the fan on in both rooms, and sleep in her room with her. He snuck into her room and farted when I was almost asleep so that I would start dry heaving. I had to start sleeping with the door locked with her. I started routine prescription nausea medicine to keep my food down at night, just in case, because it was becoming kind of health hazard because of how sick it was making me. When I asked him if he thought the amount of food he was inhaling every night was causing his farts, he said yes. I asked if maybe he could slow down or substitute for healthier snacks, such as sea salt popcorn, or a bit lighter and less full of thick cheese snacks, and he said no. His reasoning? He said he likes the way the farts feel exiting his butt as they vibrate his prostate and butthole. Like I'm not even kidding, he freaking said that. I'm so horrified that I even typed that. My life became a living nightmare as I could no longer sleep in my room and also remain alive. My desk was in my room, so I also had to stop working in the daytime from my bedroom. He works from home in the bedroom too. I had to change the entire situation just to cater to the pleasure of his farts. I tried desperately to get him to go to a doctor. I found referrals to gastroenterologists. I bought him probiotics, enzymes, milk substitutes. I cooked healthy meals. He would literally tell me he didn't want the healthy meal and drive himself to Taco Bell instead. He refused to go to the doctor. He took the probiotics sometimes but usually just pretended to and slipped them by his nightstand so I wouldn't see that he didn't take them. Knowing I was going to have to remain on prescription nausea meds, possibly for life, just to cohabitate with this man was so mind-blowing. Our budget was going crazy to keep up with the demands of the amount of food needed to keep his farting for pleasure needs met. At one point, he literally inhaled so much food so fast and so non-stop that he gained 12 pounds in 48 hours and he looked at the scale and screamed. I tried to get him into therapy and a psychiatrist, but no. I am a very body-positive person that does not fat shame and genuinely believes that you should eat what makes you feel healthy and good and not worry about hitting some numbers on a scale. The situation, however, feels like a very disastrous issue that is very weird and not very common. Something that people probably can't relate to because it's just completely absurd in every way. He said he will always choose that vibrational fart feeling and the fart smell and the grease snacks and the cheese above me. He said that is a hill he is forever willing to die on anyway. That is the story of why I am divorcing my husband over farts. On the surface level, I know it sounds like it's just about farts and then I'm just a really shallow wife, but I think it's actually so much deeper. It's just hard to explain how. GF, 26F, had an affair with her boss but wants to stay together. I, 28M, have been with my girlfriend, 26F, for 3 years, and we've been living together for almost the entire time. 2 months ago, she received a job offer that would essentially require us to move further away from my job and my brother. I asked her not to accept the job, but she thought it would be good for her career, so I eventually conceded and agreed to move with her. She informed her current job that she was leaving. And during that week, she came to me and said she wasn't sure if things would work out between us because I had been so unsupportive. She mentioned she was unhappy and that I didn't make her feel special. This news really shook me because I always envisioned a future with her. The thought of losing her over something seemingly trivial motivated me to take action. I immediately booked a fancy hotel room for us and took her out to show her how much I loved her. She agreed that we could take it day by day, so I did everything possible to make her believe in us again. I woke up early to cook breakfast, sent her sweet messages, and did everything I could think of to make her feel special. Later that week, I overheard her laughing on the phone with her boss, which gave me a weird feeling. I had always felt uncomfortable with how unprofessional she seemed with him, especially since they would hang out outside of work, in groups with coworkers. That night, while she was sleeping, I decided to check her phone, not expecting to find anything but just to be sure. However, the texts I found between her and her boss were extremely suggestive. I woke her up and confronted her. She admitted that he had confessed his feelings for her and that she might have feelings for him. She said he had kissed her once when she told him she was leaving the company, but nothing had happened since. She also told me that he had been trying to convince her to leave me. We stayed up all night talking, and I told her that I could move on if she recommitted to our relationship and cut off all contact with him. The next day was her last day at her old job, and she told me she had the conversation with him and blocked him. The next 6 weeks were incredibly difficult for me, but I eventually started to feel better. However, there were a few inconsistencies in her story that bothered me. I wanted to move forward, get engaged, and recommit, but I needed to know the whole truth. So I reached out to her boss. He told me that they had kissed 3 times, not just once, and the last time they kissed was when she told him she was going to try to reconcile with me. On her last day of work, after I found out. He also mentioned that they had talked a little the following week after she claimed she had blocked him and promised me she would never lie again. Now, I don't know what to do. I kicked her out of our apartment and said we couldn't live together anymore, but she keeps telling me she'll do anything to make it work between us. I told her I needed 2 weeks before we could talk again, but I don't know if I can ever get over this. Did she choose him over me? Was I the second option? What would have happened if I never found out? I don't know if I should move on or try to make it work. I still love her, and we have so much history together. We've gone on family vacations, and I had planned to propose within a few months. I'm so confused and feel alone. Are all women like this? Is there any chance of rebuilding trust?